All right, back at it, mocking up this axle. So I've been out here about an hour fiddling around. So what we got to do is get this thing centered in the chassis. So what I've been working on is getting this dimension from the frame. I'm just using the inside of the rotor on each side and getting that exactly the same. That gets it centered left and right. And then I'm working on getting it centered fore and aft. So I took the middle of this cutout and I measured to the front of this hole here. And exactly 10 inches is what it came to. And it's exactly the same on both sides now. So it's centered front and rear and side to side. And now I got to make sure that the axle is lined up with the center line. So it's tough to tell. I'm gonna have to get a mark on it and get a plumb bob, because depending which way you sit, it looks like it's it looks like it's centered and sometimes it doesn't. So that's the next thing. And then after I get that done, I got to redo everything and double check everything. It should be bumping it around 1/8 of an inch, maybe a quarter here and there after we do that. But so the other thing we got to look at is this is an offset axle. So even though it's centered in the chassis, you can see that the pinion is not. It's offset about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So I have to get underneath, look at the transmission output and make sure that's close to. All right, I'm gonna walk through how I'm finding the center of the axle tube and getting it under the plumb bob. So walking through a couple steps to get this centered. So first I threw a large caliper on. So it measured it's 3 1/4. So the center is gonna be 1 5/8. But first I wanted to make sure it's vertical, because if you rotate this caliper, and I'm not gonna touch it because it'll fall off, but if you rotate it either way, then you won't be on the center. So I just wanted to make sure this was dead straight and vertical. So just trust me that it's at 90 degrees. And then from there, you just can come in. Again, I'm not gonna get too close and touch it, but you come in 1 5/8 and make my little mark. So pretty simple. Again, just want to be careful and make sure everything's good and vertical and in your dead center. So then you can see my white mark there is the center of the axle opening, and I'll put a plumb bob on it and get it to match up. I can tell by just visually right now it's gonna be a little off, but let's go ahead. I'll cut away, get that set up, and then I'll show you. All right, real simple. I got my plumb bob set up. It's running right through my center line, and then you can see it's pointing right to the center line of the axle. So we're all set. So that's pretty simple. So now I will double check everything. I'll check all my other dimensions because I did have to bump it around. I'll check here to here. This was 12 7/8, I remember, so I'll have to check that. And I'll check the front and rear, which I'm sure is moved because I did move it fore and aft. And I'll just bump it around a little. It's gonna be 1/8 of an inch, maybe a 1/16 here and there. But I'll get it all nice and square, and then we're ready to go to start setting the actual bars in. So that's it for tonight.